it's not us trying to tweak technologies to say that, yeah, we're all doing crypto, we're doing AI, we're doing quantum. It's just that it all fits very well together.
The one question I get more than anything else is around Sealcoin, CLSQ, all of the things that they're doing around transactional Internet of Things. And I'm not surprised. They're trying to onboard 1 trillion objects into their vision. They have a token that's going to be built on Hedera, so it has huge impacts on the Hedera network as well. And we have the perfect person here today to talk about it. We have the VP in charge of decentralized strategy for the entire project. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Brandon, for having me.
Well, it's absolutely my pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this one. Jonathan, to start, can you just run through the roles of the different entities that are participating in this? We have CLSQ, we have WiseKey, we have WiseSat, and those are just the ones that I know about. Can you just tell us about what these different entities do?
Yes, and I think it's very important as we make those individual components converge together around Sealcoin. So I think it's very important to understand what this cybersecurity group actually does. And WiseKey is this cybersecurity group organized in various verticals. The first one is, as you mentioned, CLSQ. CLSQ produces microchips, okay, so that you have here. And I'll tell you how it integrates within the Sealcoin ecosystem in a second. And we actually reached the 1 billion valuation on the NASDAQ because we're publicly listed last week. Again, it's not the first time, but now it's even more sustainable and even growing further. And why that is because we're the first one to be able to provide a microchip which is quantum proof. So it integrates post-quantum algorithm to protect our devices. And it has been validated by NIST, which is the highest standard in the US in terms of certifying secure objects. That's CLSQ. So CLSQ protects devices at the silicon level. Second vertical, you have WiseKey SA, which is an entity issuing identities. Okay, and as many companies in that sector, you use a root certificate, so a super protected, it's actually hidden in a mountain here in Switzerland, process to be able to issue PKI services, public key infrastructure, a set of key, just as your wallet. You have a public key and a private key. Okay, these are the foundation for identities for your wallet, but also these identities can be for individuals, you and me, at a government level. They give you your passport, your driving license, but also for your object. Your object needs and require an identity now to make sure that they evolve in a safe environment. And that's the second component, with the specificity that we're able to connect both activities. So WiseKey issuing the identity of the object and CLSQ securing the physical object. We can actually hide your secret code, your identity, your private key inside the silicon of the object, which means that the object, whenever it arrives in an environment, in your home, for example, if you want to pair an object, can actually authenticate itself. And that changes everything. And we'll see how Sealcoin actually take those components and plug that on-chain. But before I go there, the third vertical is WiseSat. And we've been speaking a lot about WiseSat, specifically on Reddit, on the Hedera community, as we were the first one to actually trigger a transaction from space. So what WiseSat does is that we launch satellites, can be picosatellites or small satellite, can be a bigger satellite, to connect objects on Earth with or without any Wi-Fi connection or internet connectivity. They use the satellite communication to securely speak to one another. Those are the three verticals that the group has organized. And the fourth vertical is Sealcoin, where we take, again, those components, plug them on-chain. And why do we do that? It's because not only we want to secure the devices and make sure that they can authenticate themselves, but also because we're solving one of the largest issues we see on-chain, which is where the data is coming from. The device itself, through its secure elements, through its silicon and components, can actually sign its own data on-chain directly without any human intervention, without anyone being able to hack the physical element into it. And that changes everything, because then that means that the data you have, you never wonder where it's coming from. It has been signed, and you can actually verify that it has never been tampered with, it has never been manipulated by anyone else. The device has signed it. So that's cool, but this is not the service that we offer. That's kind of a wrapped service that we offer. The service that we offer is that the device, the same way we inject the identity of the object into the secure element here, physically, we actually inject a wallet. Because your identity and your wallet use the same technology, the PKI services, the public key infrastructure. And the same way you're going to keep your public key public for anyone that wants to connect with you, your private key will be securely hosted and protected into this physical vault. And what does it mean? It means that not only the device can authenticate itself with another device, but that means that also it has financial capacity to execute and settle the transaction if we are exchanging something together. And what could be this something? Well, it depends on the object. If you plug your solar panel, okay, the solar panel could actually be associated to different marketplaces. The obvious one is the energy marketplace. So you register your solar panel, I register my electric vehicle. It could be that our two devices would go onto the Sealcoin platform. They would register securely, safely. They each had been registered with their own identity and can actually not only communicate with them. We've been connected devices for many years online. But now not only they can securely communicate together, but also transact and set up the transaction together using their wallets, making sure that there's enough Kite token onto the wallet to set up the transaction and do everything else. One thing that I should mention before we progress is that what I've been saying now for the physical object, we can also do that for digital objects. And to be more precise, for AI agents, because everyone is speaking about AI agents. So maybe we'll take a moment before we dive deep into the AI agent use case. But this is why I think last time we spoke, we were still with the TIOT token, okay, which was the transactional IoT and token for the Sealcoin platform. We didn't change the Sealcoin platform at all. What we changed is the name of the token that is becoming Kite, QAIT, for Quantum AI Transactional. Why? It's because not only we can still onboard the next trillion devices inside the platform, but we can also onboard the next trillion of AI agents that will be able to, the same way, generate an identity for themselves that you will control as the rightful owner of your AI agents, and make sure that when these AI agents help you to take a decision, they can actually, on top of that, execute it. So I can run you through the process later on, but this is why we have this expansion of use cases, because the same way we can actually, and we've been servicing object and manufacturers about this identity recognition and authentication, we expand that to AI.
So, Jonathan, you did a fantastic job already kind of explaining that transactional Internet of Things vision. I was going to ask you about that next, but I think it's a great opportunity just to dive into that Kite token and how this lifeblood of your ecosystem is going to work.
So why anyone should issue new tokens now that we have thousands of them already existing? I think is not just for the sake of having our name onto the crypto exchanges and making sure that we can benefit from it from a pure financial point of view. It's just that it has to serve a purpose. This is the commonly called the utility that we provide. The utility that we provide is, as mentioned, to secure the data sourcing from the edge, but also making sure that you get not only register into the platform to communicate safely and securely with other devices or other AI agents, but you want also to be able to settle those transactions. And there is no other way. You cannot just link your bank account to it. A traditional bank account would not do it. But bear in mind that the same way we issue identities and we use your wallet public and private keys, the same technology applies for a cryptocurrency. It's just a set of public and private keys. So it's not us trying to tweak technologies to say that, yeah, we're all doing crypto, we're doing AI, we're doing quantum. It's just that it all fits very well together just because we all use the same elliptic curve and technicalities behind it in the same environment. And we have just cooked those component ingredients together so that it not only makes sense because it's a safer environment, but also it's an improved environment where a device, because it holds its own cryptocurrency and has access to its own wallet and can communicate safely with the TLS communication, this is called a secure way to communicate, can actually settle the transaction when they do so. And this is why we are issuing this token. It grants you access to the platform where you can register your devices or your agents, but also you can access the marketplaces, consume whatever you need, whether it's a service, the energy from your solar panel, it could be the data from your solar panel, it could be the temperature, it could be that I am the weather forecast company, and instead of deploying my own small weather stations, I just purchase the data point that I need, making sure that I can provide an improved service to my customers at a fraction of the cost. And all that happens through the token.
It makes perfect sense that you're tailoring this to this very specific use case. Hedera has so many ways you can specifically make these tokens. So it makes perfect sense to me. The next thing I want to get into to make it a little bit more real for the viewers are some of the examples of how both the transactional Internet of Things use cases could work and those agent use cases. Can you give us some real world examples of how this might look in the future?
Yes, I think the solar panel is a good use case, because whether it belongs to an individual or to a smart city, you can start connecting objects in smart ways. In that sense, that combining those advanced devices with a layer of intelligence through AI or through other means. Okay, it doesn't have to be AI. It's just that super popular and it's on point right now. The device itself can actually optimize its consumption, can optimize its the service they generate or the data that they generate. And we knew that we could connect those devices together, but to be honest, it always has happened in a very siloed environment. So the brand would protect their devices and their data, and it would be very difficult to have this interoperability between devices. Just as you have a smart home, we have customers that have 150 devices into their home as individuals, and it's a nightmare just to control them. Here, you would control everything through your own wallet. So your wallet is the key access point to not only to control the devices, but also to start injecting commands to the devices whenever something happens. And not only they can activate themselves in an autonomous way, but also most of the time, again, it requires a transaction to be settled at the end of the day. And here everything happens seamlessly. I don't know how you pay your electricity bill, but usually it's a quarter thing. At least here in Switzerland, it's a quarter thing. What happens if you take those billions worth of money, instead of paying it once every quarter, you actually settle everything on a daily basis? That's huge amount of money, and then you use financial repo services, and you make this money work, and you generate revenues out of that. So again, becoming smarter and smarter is just to enable this interoperability. And again, in our jargon, it's more about composability of things. So you can build on top of what someone has built already to improve it constantly, freely, and that creates a huge set of innovation capabilities. And again, those are the simple examples. And that was for a physical device as a solar panel. Again, tomorrow you have AI agents. You want to make sure that one of the most popular use cases right now of AI agents is when they go into an API. Okay, so you go into a server that can offer you services, and the server will actually automate and provide you with the best access. Who can prove that this AI belongs to you as an individual or to you as a client company? You don't know. So the first thing you want to do to make sure is that I can recognize you as being the ownership of my trusted client. And once you do so, you will tell me in real time the services that you're consuming, and I can bill you also in real time, because billing is a massive issue also in the AI environment. So we're not so much solving the billing component. You have dedicated companies to do that. But what we are adding as a layer is the previous layer of security, It's a safe environment. We can handshake before we make business together through the API. And once you know what you have consumed from this API, I can actually execute the settlement. I can settle the transaction straight away, and the service are being paid straight away. So that changes the whole dynamic of things. And of course, there are some hurdles. Companies are not used to work like that, and we need to be able to scale to such a level where you consume it without noticing it. That's exactly what happened in the website environment. From one day to the other, you used to have regular website, and the next day you have HTTPS, which is nothing else but this identity that you show that the website has been certified by the owner of the domain. Here, it's exactly the same thing. At an AI agent level, that means that a lot of more things can happen. And everyone is, again, talking about a lot of what AI can do. It can only happen in a safe environment. So that means that the security and cybersecurity layer has happened. Then AI can actually deploy its own capacity and capabilities and everything extraordinary that we see with those new tools. But on top of that, then settle everything and have a seamless internet and a digital infrastructure which works much, which is improved.
Jonathan, I have to ask about this next thing. So I know you've already had announcements that you have a deal with, I believe, the UK government for 20 million smart meters out there. I know there's a lot of things happening in the
30
background.
million.
What's that?
30 million.
30 million. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. And I'm sure I know that there's a lot of other objects and deals that you're trying to make to get this technology embedded into other objects as well. The question I have, because of course my audience is interested in how this is going to impact the Hedera network, what kind of scale could we see as far as transaction volume on the Hedera network due to this?
So, as you mentioned, being part of this cybersecurity group that sells identity to object, and the deal you're mentioning is around, I think it was around Toshiba, the provider of smart meters in the UK. We had a similar deal in Asia now with another 30 million certificate being sold there. And the idea is that once you have this technology enabled inside smart meters, so now it's not a solar panel, it's the smart meter, even better, I would say, you can actually start optimizing and without any technical hurdles, deploy those smart meters inside a decentralized ecosystem. The pros are that we already have those clients using the technology where everything is compatible. The cons are that those huge clients never heard or not in the right way heard about blockchain and DLT and cryptocurrencies. So now it's all about educating them in telling them that you purchase a piece of technology that can do actually much more. This is what we can achieve, and let's build that together. So we have the luxury to have already clients that can actually be onboarded seamlessly into a Sealcoin ecosystem. So this is what we're planning to do. Now we simply need to train them in understanding what they can do in the environment. In terms of transactions, we're talking about, again, very high numbers. We're not talking about onboarding users. We're talking about onboarding their devices. So we're talking about a huge, everyone is speaking about billion users. We're talking about trillions of devices. And now that we have in the mix the AI agents, the scalability of this is exponential. So the idea is that we will onboard the client from the group as a priority, making sure that we create the infrastructure for them, with them. We generate a good service around our token so that then everyone can start understanding how blockchain is being used. And eventually, we won't even have to speak about blockchain or DLT anymore. And even the settlement approach, we use the same approach than Hedera, actually. We don't want to speak about volatility and what's the price of your coin and what's the meaning. You have services labeled in your local currencies, such as Hedera is doing. So you know that the Hedera transaction cost would be 0.1 cent in dollar. You don't care how much you settle in Hedera. If you're a standard company or a traditional company, we do exactly the same way. So the energy service will be expressed in euros, in dollars, and then we do the settlement, and everything happens seamlessly.
I'm so surprised that a lot of other entities and crypto entities out there haven't adopted the same kind of thing. It was just kind of a no-brainer to me that Hedera implemented this, and it makes perfect sense that you're implementing it as well. So the last thing I want to ask about, whenever people hear about a token, we have the Kite token, they want to know how they can get involved. Is this going to be publicly available, and how can people get involved?
So it depends when this podcast will be released, because we are actually issuing our token right now on the mainnet of Hedera, and we are releasing it. We want to limit it to 2 crypto exchanges first, relatively soon, publicly available for anyone to participate to the ecosystem. And what we want to do with that is making sure that anyone can access our token to get access to the platform that we've built, because the platform is ready. We have finalized all the tests that are required. And now what we want to focus on is making sure that we start generating transaction amongst devices. We make sure that, maybe one thing that I haven't mentioned is that we mentioned the satellite use case, we mentioned the smart home and smart city use cases. We also integrated, just to play with it, a Sealcoin agent into 2,000 laptops that were distributed already for the retails. So they've been sold. And it just to prove that the owners of this laptop can open their laptop and from day one start selling the CPU or the GPU that they have to the AI LLM companies that requires a lot of GPUs, or to the cloud service provider that requires a lot of CPU. And with that, they can start generating also revenue. So we have a whole set of marketplaces that we want to prioritize, and rolling out our token as we speak, publicly available in the main cryptocurrencies, crypto exchanges, in the coming days, will enable a lot of people to be onboarded through the Sealcoin platform and to start using the token in the environment. And maybe last component is that maybe not everyone will want to participate to the ecosystem. We have a lot of people that want to hold a token and passively play a role into the platform. What we are deploying also, it's a pool mechanism where you can actually purchase a token and enable so you take the token, you pull them into a lock smart contract, and each of these tokens will release an identity for an object. So you don't have to actively deploy your own object, but you can actually be rewarded for enabling objects to be deployed into your pool. So that's kind of a reverse staking mechanism, but it's not based on a financial instrument. It's based on securing the network. And that's a world premiere, I think.
I love it. So one of the last things that I want to get to is these things are always in flux right before you launch. You don't know exactly when it's going to happen. So for people that want to know all the latest information, what are some of your socials where people can follow and find out on their own?
Easy. Join us on X, join us on our Telegram channel. Everything is under Sealcoin_AI. You can find us, ask us some question, be part of the ecosystem, give us your feedback of how you can actually interact with it. Register to our newsletter. We are actually regularly issuing our latest news. Visit us on our website to register, sealcoin.ai, straightforward. I know that everything I just said sometimes comes with a bit of complexity. I hope I was not too technical. We're trying to digest a lot of what we're doing online and creating short videos, less than 1 minute, to explain what we are doing. So come to us, and we would be happy to take the time to explain how things work and how we can help in the environment.
Perfect. Jonathan, this is probably one of the things that I'm most excited about, and really the entire crypto space should be more excited about this than pretty much anything else, because of the scale of what's possible here. And of course, it wouldn't be possible without a hyper efficient network that can scale like Hedera. Thank you so much for hopping on today and telling us all about the latest information around the Kite coin, Sealcoin, and everything else that's going on. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope we can have you back real soon.
Thank you very much, Brandon. And now the sun is even out. Thank you very much for having us.